Alright, so today we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to play RimWorld, since this is a game that seems to be considered relatively complicated. You're going to start off with the choices for scenario. Each one is a little bit more different. Is the most basic. You start off with 3 people. You have a relatively high level of pre-learned tech, pretty good early supplies. Lost Tribe, you get more people, you have almost no tech available, and much smaller, much more primitive supply list. Rich Explorer, this is one of my favorites, but this is more difficult. You start off with 1 character, really high level supplies, really high level tech. Um, Problem is, usually with this, you have to pick a certain type of character because you're going to have to recruit all of your colonists from people that you take down, which I'll explain later. Naked Brutality is my all-time favorite just because it's the most difficult. I won't start with that on this game, but basically you start with nothing. Nothing. 1 character, nothing whatsoever. So we'll do this playthrough with the crash-landed scenario, since that is the simplest. Now, this is where a lot of contention comes in with this game, because these AIs are designed in a way where, for example, Cassandra is going to basically screw you over every chance she gets. It starts off easy, but then there's going to be scenarios where more or less her and Phoebe are designed to just screw the player over in the end game. It's almost to the point where it's like scripted failure. So I highly recommend, if you're not an avid player of RimWorld, that you stick with Randy Randerson here, because he will actually give you the most fair scenarios, because they're purely random instead of scripted, death. On that mode, we'll keep it simple. Normally I play on Blood and Dust, or every now and then losing is fun if I really feel like a challenge. But for now, random player, this is probably already going to be a little bit more difficult than they're going to be used to. I like to keep reloaded any time on, just because, like I said, this real world is not a friendly game, so you will fail, and you'll want to reload. So commitment mode is obviously the antithesis of that, and antithesis, where I'm good at speaking most of the time. It makes it so essentially if you lose, it's game over. You can only save once every now and then, and I think it's really only when you exit the game. Yeah, when you exit the game. So this, not recommended whatsoever. Planet size, kind of irrelevant, considering you're only going to be in one space at any particular time. Traveling in the game is possible, but not really practical. So I usually just go with the base seed. It doesn't really matter. They're all kind of the same in certain aspects. I get more mountains or less mountain. It really doesn't matter. Okay. So then you have your biomes. Now, desert biomes are going to be one of the most difficult. Temperate forest biomes are probably the easiest. Temperate swamps are not fun. Arid is a little bit easier than desert. Let's see. Rainforest is slightly more difficult. So if I were to rank everything from difficult to the easiest, sea ice would be impossible. One of these days I'll make a video where I try to survive on that. There's no resources. It's just meant to kind of torture yourself and see if you can pull it off. Ice sheet would be the next most dangerous or difficult. Also kind of the same thing, more or less. You're not really going to succeed in an ice sheet environment. Tundra would be the following, followed by desert, then arid, then rainforest, and then temperate forest. There's also boreal forest, which is kind of like an in-between of temperate forest and tundra. it has its drawbacks. There's in each region and each biome, there's different kinds of like creatures that'll spawn, and the thing you'll see in like say a desert or an arid or even to a degree in a mountainous region of boreal forest is more of the insect creatures, which can be kind of annoying. Um, for this playthrough, I don't want to do forest because forest is almost too easy. We might just do boreal forest. Alright, now when selecting a base site, I prefer to select something in the mountains, just because you'll have more accesses to resources like metal and marble and the like. One of the things I've noticed if you play on like the plains areas or the less mountainous areas is you have to devote yourself towards getting drill technology, or else you're going to eventually run out of materials to do things. So, with that said, let's do boreal. It's nice to have access to a road like this, but it's not always conducive. And considering there aren't really any towns over here, it kind of defeats the purpose. So, let's see. I try to avoid rivers too, just because that kind of screws up the overall real estate you have available. Let's see. Slate granite and sandstone, probably a good seed right there. So we'll go with that. Alright, now for character development. Or for character choosing. The thing you'll want to note, kind of focus on is I try to avoid characters like this, actually. Even though medical and social are, actually all three of these are crucial for building a new base, especially from the start. Social will allow me to convince, so you'll get raided and you'll take prisoners, and one of the easiest ways to build up your colony is to recruit your prisoners, and having a high social with the 2 fire marks means that they will increase their skill more rapidly. They will get bonuses to their mood from performing these actions, and obviously you have a higher chance of succeeding. But due to the fact that these are all, like, when these are blank like this and don't even have a stat, they literally will not do these things. So we're talking about, this is a character who will only act as a doctor, recruit people, tame animals, or research, in which half of those aren't even gonna, I mean, aside from medical, you're gonna be very rarely placed to use most of these, so I tend to avoid characters like that. However, because of these high stats, he would be a valuable member of the team for his role, but it's not great to have a character who can't, especially at the beginning, who can at least help you to defend, because you're going to have very limited firepower, obviously, and you're going to need everyone at the beginning. So yeah, these first 3 are all rejects as far as I'm concerned. Their stats are too low, or they have blanks and crucial stats. Her I might actually keep, just because, like I said, she has those same 3 talents pretty high, but also several other more valuable talents. We'll keep her in reserve. But the other ones we're definitely going to switch. Let's look at our freebies. It's not a bad combat character. Also not bad. I'm gonna go ahead and re-roll, because most of these characters are just not acceptable. Now this is a better example of a great character. High shooting, high melee, construction. The only thing wrong is they don't cook, but as long as you got one who can cook, you can kind of forgo. Artistic is relatively useless, and I mean, I misspoke. It's useful, but it's not a high priority at the beginning. So now that high social and medical. So now we can get rid of Juju here and try to get something a little better. Hopefully someone who can do construction and cooking. That is would be a great character except for the fact that, well, it's only 12%. So what's going to happen is early in the game, I'm going to use this one just to demonstrate how that works. But she's going to go into withdrawal early in the game, so I'm going to lose access to her for a couple of days. But Go Juice is a more refined drug, so she's not going to be able to find any. So she won't be able to increase her addiction or cause a resurgence of her addiction later. So that is acceptable. Now we need someone who can actually cook. See, unfortunately, do not want pacifist characters to start off with. Come on, give me one with cooking. No, we can do better than that. Come on. That's garbage. Come on. I know there's a good cook character out there. I would strongly recommend taking the time at the beginning just to make sure you have a good. She can at least punch. Got construction and mining. They're low now, but they will build. All right, let's see if we can find something better before we confirm that. Not the way I want. What I'm hoping for is a character that can do construction, cooking, and mining with the bonuses. Although I'm probably going to get my hopes up on that. Because now that I think about it, I can't think of very many times I've seen a character with those bonuses, except for, nope, no cooking, yep. I think that's one of the trait combos that are pretty rare. Come on. Ooh, but no combat. Yep. Oh. That I can work with. No mining, but pretty high cooking and other stats. Especially intellectual, that will be useful. So yeah, NG is actually one of the like all-time bests. You'll notice their names, there's repetition in their names. And certain ones will. She's just so much better overall. Alright, we'll stick with Freckles. And she has no problems either. Alright, so we will start with this. But yeah, there are named characters. NG is one. Mine is in there somewhere, but I've actually never come across it, so. Alright. Yeah, there's a not Narb in there somewhere. Buying it way back in early access. Alright. So, first thing you're gonna do, let you guys land. I always pause for this, because you're gonna have a lot of shit that you have to basically flag available. I don't want to target you, because most everything that comes out of the drop is going to be forbidden, as well as there'll be random supplies that are already in the world, like metal and wood. You've got to flag all those available. One of the beautiful parts about that, though, is if you zoom out and you double click, you can see all of the ones in the range that you can see, like those over there. And you can toggle things active that way. Let's see. Flag pants. Alright, and one of the first things I do before I start actually scanning around is set my rules. Also, I'll do that in a minute, but first thing I like to do is, because eventually it'll happen, is I add a new outfit regulation. Summer. I like to set. So this way they won't wear worn clothes. When clothes get worn down, they cause a mood modifier, which will make your people become more and more unhappy as they go. Summertime, just take off anything that's a jacket. That way they don't overheat. Although I don't think summer is that bad in the boreal forest. And then tuck, which is a type of clothing that basically a knit cap. And then just pretty much always set the threshold. Then I like to actually inspect my characters. You learn what their traits are. So this guy, for example, you won't ever want to put bionic parts on. Ooh, nice. NG apparently is psychically death, so when there's drones, she won't go crazy and get upset. This character is a brawler, so only fights with their fists. If you give them any kind of weapon, they'll get a mood modifier. And undergrounder, which is nice because I tend to build bases into mountains. Which, on that note, let's look at our base potentials. And if any of them had the trait Night Owl, you would want to go in and immediately go into your schedule and alter their schedule so that they're asleep during the day and awake at night. Which, it's actually nice to have a night owl character, because while everyone else is sleeping, you'll have someone still doing stuff, so you won't have downtime whenever it's nighttime. Alright. So I like to look in terms of accessibility before I make a decision. So, like, for example, if a raid comes, say raids land there, they land there, you know, they land here, kind of go for like the fewest access points, which obviously is going to be this area for this map, which is not bad because it's got a geothermal vent. It's got a psychic tree, which I'm going to have to be careful with, which means I'll have to build over here. Psychic trees cause issues. Let's just put it that way. You don't want to accidentally cut one down. You don't want to build too close. Well, I guess you could still build close to them if you were playing as the tribals. The second one I showed you with the low tech and everything. They actually use the tree for rituals for their psychic powers. So, okay. With that said, ooh, free meat. Yeah, you'll want to scan around the map too, because these little meat packages will drop everywhere. And it's nice to have access to that. At least until you actually have, you know, the station set up to make your own food. Yeah, that's the other way. Try to find things like that. It's basically, it has a prioritization in the algorithm, so when you select things, it'll select certain priorities first. Like, if there's no items, it'll select animals. If there's no animals, it'll select chunks or bushes. Yeah, you can see it selected bushes there. Which is also a great way to just see what kind of resources you're working with. Okay, so we are going to build over here. First thing you should do is just set kind of like your preliminary boundary structure. Eventually, that's going to require support, so I'm just going to go ahead and assume the regions where the supports have to be after I take out part of the mountain. This will be a good storage area. So storage is done through the zoning. Let's do a stockpile zone to start with. we will change this eventually, because apparently there's mood modifiers that happens to just having your stuff on the ground, so eventually you build storage containers. And then obviously you're not going to have enough wood to do all this, so we got to clear this area for our buildings anyway, so kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And then there's also, with the chunks like this, they have mood modifiers too. Basically anything that's unpleasing to the eye will get you in trouble with your colonists, so I tend to try to make the best of this situation by creating a sort of fire barrier. So when basically I will start moving all these stones by having them set to haul, and they will haul them into this range, and they can actually be used for cover when we get attacked. So kind of a easy way to set up defenses before you actually have technology for defenses. Always make sure you're going on the storage though, and remove corpses, or else it'll start holding on to the stuff that the animals and stuff that you hunt that you want to go into your fridge or storage area will end up in your junk stockpile area, and that doesn't serve you any good. So, okay. I also like to prearrange my building stations. Let's see. We will start with their tech level. You can make power right off the bat, which is nice. What I like to do is I basically kind of try to set it up. So eventually, what I'm going to do here is I always take winter into account in all my building, because what will happen in the winter time is you will have to shelter your farmlands and provide heat to them, or else the snow will kill them and you will starve during the winter. So I always like to kind of set up with that idea in mind. So what I will do is I will build, once this is mined out, I will build my air conditioning units here to freeze this area as my fridge, and use the exhaust heat from that for when wintertime comes. I will basically wall in this area right here that will be my farm area, and use the heat from the exhaust heat from my fridge as part of the heating for this area. Eventually I will throw heaters into as I expand it and so on and so forth. But alright, anyway, back to production. So first things you're gonna typically want, I'll also build my power plants out here, because they emit heat as well, so you could kind of 2 birds 1 stone it essentially. So let's see, we will actually do that first, since we already know that that's going to be our plan. So let's throw 2 power plants down, throw cable there. Y'all have to mine this out before it'll actually let me run cables through this way, but I can run them up this way if I want to. And then, actually, let's do that, because we're going to build power stations at the beginning. Okay, so then we're going to do electric stove, which is a must. Stone cutter station, I like to get bricks made as early as possible. One, because bricks have higher aesthetic value, so if you tile your base with bricks, you'll start getting happiness a lot faster. And you can also use them as a primary resource for making statues, which you can sell and use those as a good source of income. Alright, and then obviously you need a research bench. You need a butcher table, or else you'll never be able to harvest any of the animals you kill. Let's see, what else do we need? And throw hand tailor station down. And throw the art bench down while we're at it too. Now, this was something they added later, but always add chairs to your workstations. Oops. as they improve the comfort level at a workstation, so you don't get mood bonuses from people working at stations. And then also, always good to just make sure you cut down everything here. It'll prevent hassles later when you're trying to lay floor and such. Okay, and then last but not least, beds. So I typically go with one bed per. So if there is 3 colonists, you go one bed for each colonist, and then yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, there's water in there for some reason. Because yeah, if you close out of your menus, you can look down and see. So it's marshy terrain, which is gonna screw up the whole bedroom idea here. Actually, now that I've noticed that, they'll just have to deal with it for now. But yeah, I do one bed for each, and then one medical bed for each. And then with that, we look like we are set. The only other thing to do then is just equip your weapons. So we already know that she's fist only, so we don't have to worry about getting her a weapon. And then the other thing I do too is because materials will decay if they're unroofed. So one of the first things I like to do is, well, obviously first set everything. Anything that's got a fire mark on it, I generally recommend ticking, just because they get mood upgrades for those. Some of them, like Smith, Tailor, and Craft, you don't really need to, but I will for the sake of this anyway. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is to set priority to haul, so that they will take all this stuff and carry it over to the storage area, which will make building the base a lot easier, because they won't pick up more than a certain amount of stuff. So if they're going to build a wall, they're just going to pick up enough to build a wall plus maybe a little excess. So what'll end up happening is your guys will end up running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to grab tiny little bits of these supplies to build stuff. But if you force them to haul at the beginning and move all that stuff down here, then they're just going here, 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 here. So that's one of the first things I do. Now you also get an animal with each new game. We got lucky on this one, and we got a dog. I have literally restarted games because of the starter animal, because dogs can at least be trained to haul, so that they will move stuff for you. It makes your life so much easier. But like certain pets, like cats and small dogs or monkeys, or a lot of the various animals you'll get are more or less useless. So I mean, I will, if I start a game with like a bunny, I'm gonna probably restart that game, because that bunny is gonna get killed by something like this warg in about 10 seconds. And the other thing you end up having to do is you have to create pet zones and keep them inside, and it's all kind of a pain in the ass. So at least with the dog, a dog has a lot higher health, a lot more utility, and you could probably save it from an animal like a warg, or it could end up killing the warg by itself. So much, much better pets to have to start with. That warg makes me nervous, just because if he decides he's hungry, the first thing he's going to do is go after, well, there's a rat here, so he'll kill that rat and that bunny first, but eventually, once he runs out of targets, he's going to go after my dog. So we'll have to deal with the warg threat eventually. I don't have anyone who's exceptionally talented in animals. It's the only downside to this team selection, so I won't be able to tame him. I'll probably just have to kill him. So yeah, you're probably going to spend your first day collecting stuff and moving stuff. It's not unusual. Which means they're going to sleep on the ground, which means they're going to be a little pissy. But early on, it's something you can deal with. It's not that bad. Where are you going? Oh, we're going to disable those for now. They have weird prioritization when they do haul stuff. Yeah, they're going to sleep on the ground. So they're going to, you can look at their needs, and you can see how slept outside, slept in the cold, slept on the ground, ate without a table, uncomfortable. Those are all just hits you're not going to be able to avoid at the beginning. Even if I had prioritized to building beds, they probably wouldn't have finished this area before nightfall. So right there, that screech you heard, that was the warg killing the rat, exactly as I expected. Oh, good, there's another rat. Alright, he's got plenty of prey for a while. Oh, another thing you can do temporarily, too, is animal sleeping spot. So at least your dog won't just sleep wherever they are randomly in the world. Later you can build better beds and such. Alright, I think that is sufficient for that. So we will let them go back to normal tasks. See what their prioritization is. Are you a high miner? You are not. That's a weird prioritization for you, but okay. I don't mind. That is a priority that needs to be dealt with, so. Oh, one of our construction guys sucks. Wow, you failed on a research bench with a 4? It doesn't take a lot to make a research bench. Alright, I'm most likely going to have to force them to do some things here, because sometimes their prioritization routines are a little strange. And so they will build stuff in random order. And as you can see, we probably need them to focus on beds first and foremost. So we'll get them to cut down some of this wood, and then I will show you how to manually target prioritizations. Let's see, how much wood do we have? Not much. Alright. So we will let them do their cutting prioritization for a while longer. Plus I need all these trees gone to put roofs up anyway, so. Come on, you're not done yet. There you go. Alright, so one of the ways, if you want to manually prioritize, let's see, who's our best constructor? I think it was NG, yeah. Alright, we'll let her finish this tree. Okay. So you select them, you right click on your target, and you prioritize construction. They will only do this one at a time though, so sometimes you will have to micromanage like I just did. So there, now they have beds. And they should have enough wood to work with, so we will turn off the manual priorities, and hopefully they will finish constructing, because wood wall manual prioritization is one of the most annoying things in the game, because they will literally put down all these slots for all this wall here, build one and run off. So you'd have to sit there and literally manually select each wall, and it gets old really fast. But it looks like it's probably what we'll have to do anyway, so let's demonstrate how this works. Oh, I got lucky and she decided to just build walls on her own. That's nice. Although wrong walls, but take your victories where you can get them. Come on, roofs. Throw up roofs. There we go. Alright. That is the thing we needed done. Because at least now they're... Well, they didn't finish, so they're not fully sheltered. But they're in beds. So at least we'll have about half of the negative mood effects that we had before. Oh, excellent. Excellent work, Angie. Who only slept for like 30 seconds? Very odd. Alright, so now that we have our cave hollowed out here, we can throw in our coolers. You obviously, kind of self-explanatory, the blue is the area that the cool and the heat is the exhaust, so always face blue inwards. And then you can expand your zone here now that you've got it set. Sounds like the warg just killed another animal. Alright, so these you want to set down. I like to get them into the negative. I have it set to Fahrenheit. I usually have it set to Celsius, which makes it a little easier. But yeah, get them below freezing. That'll ensure that everything in here is frozen, making this your refrigerator. So what I'm going to have to do eventually is build a different storage facility that is dedicated to non-perishable items and then split up what they contain. We'll do that in a little bit. First thing we're going to do, always set your station here to butcher and do forever. That way they will always harvest any animals that they kill. Same thing for with your stove. Our cook level isn't great, so we're probably only going to be able to make simple meals. Let's see if we can make fine meals. Nope, nobody with enough talent. So eventually they will skill up enough. For now, since you don't have an ability to cook anything else, I'll just set that for forever. Eventually I'll parse that out to more specific tasks. Now, any stone block, do forever. That is a must as far as I'm concerned, because stone bricks are one of the most useful things you'll have available to you at the start. Alright, we need more lumber. Guess we are running off wood burning stoves or furnaces and such for our power supply, so we're going to need a pretty much constant lumber supply. Also, if we plan on building anything else. Alright, and then next off, now that we've got the basics essentials set up, I hate that they did it that way, but whatever. Okay. So set all of our unknown beds as medical beds. So that way if they get injured, they will immediately go to those beds to rest, which will increase their healing speed. And then now we prepare for the long run. So this is going to mean farms. So there's kind of essentials to start with. First thing I do is potatoes. I do a smaller rice field because rice grows faster. And then if I have anyone capable, I don't. Okay. Heal root is nice because eventually you will run out of medicine, and heal root is herbal medicine, and then eventually it can be made into real medicine. If you don't have the option to do that, I just go straight food. And then I also like to make kind of a smaller side farm for cotton, because you are going to need to make parkas when winter rolls around. So now remember to this tree, because if you cut this tree down on accident, there's unleashes a psychic scream, which causes a major mood reduction for a very, very, very long time. So always be careful when you're doing your, broader cut selects and things that you don't accidentally target that. Okay, so We also have higher level technologies, so we can actually build electric lights right off the bat. Okay, well, now we've completed our essential basics. Now we just gotta get into the simpler stuff like shaping our storage environments and such. Mining useful materials, kind of go around with components. I also like to kind of delve into the mountain. It's something I do personally. I end up building the majority of my base in the mountains. There's plus sides and downsides to that. Plus sides are it's a lot harder for raiders to get you. The downside, though, is you increase the chance of insect hive spawning instead of raiders because you're in the mountain. I think the trade-off's fine, because especially a lot of times you'll have them like, I'd say for example, I just did a bunch of like random mining like this and so on and so forth. A lot of times they'll end up spawning in like these really weird out of the way areas. So, but they have also been known to spawn literally in your bedroom. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Oh, this geothermal vent too can be used for heating the farm area. So if I were to build a wall, which I will eventually when winter runs, and wall off this area, then roof it off, it will trap the heat from that thermal generator, or from that thermal geyser, and then later you can build a thermal generator. Alright, so we get to the point now where the game has recognized that we have done enough stuff to be an actual town. So give yourself town, settlement name, and then a town name. Now, it's been long enough that we should start seeing our first events start to crop up. I don't know if I have anyone who's really great at this, but I always set that as the views you have. And then another thing you should do too, so you don't waste resources, is go into details. And I basically disable everything but stone blocks, because steel and wood and the like all have various different uses that are more important than statues. Also, the game judges based on your supplies and stockpiles and stuff. So if you have too much metal or extra stone statues and stuff sitting around in your storage or just about, it increases your chances of getting hit by a raid. Which makes logical sense, When the bad guys realize you have stuff, they're more likely to come after you to try to take your stuff. So, yeah, we're getting close. Probably going to use this tunnel here to establish my my alternate storeroom. Although I would kind of rather it was over here. And then I can use this branch to make bedrooms. Because your colonists will be happier if they're in their own bedroom. I'm actually taking a hit right now by having them all in this same space. So, yeah, we're going to shoot for this area as our new storage location. The only downside to this map type and this strategy is if you don't have people who are good at mining, this becomes kind of a giant headache. I wonder if I'll get lucky. Sometimes you can see like there's an open area here. Sometimes that'll actually branch out into a huge open space. Unfortunately in this one it just gave me the one. But I have like literally cut through a wall like that and opened up a whole space like this inside the mountain. So there are hidden spots inside the mountains. Alright, so let's go ahead. Because the amount of space an area has actually affects how effective the cooling units are. So we want to block that off so we're not basically wasting our cold production there. Let's expand that. Alright, that's a pretty solid refrigerator. As we're looking at temp wise, it's holding temp pretty steady. So yeah, that should work out perfectly. Okay. Now we can see we got a pop-up, an event pop-up. It's almost summertime. Oh, it is summertime now. So normally later in the game we would have parkas and heavy winter clothing. We don't have that yet, so I'm not going to bother changing their clothing restrictions. We are probably overdue though for some joy. So what you want to do is there are items that let your characters kind of relax and blow off steam so that you don't have mental breakdowns. So you want to build those when you can. I don't usually prioritize that. I usually always build them around this point in the game. Just because some, like these two, require cloth and stuff you don't have yet. But the chess table and the horseshoe pit are pretty quick and easy and work for the initial part of the game for the most part. We got lucky and we landed on a lot of components here. Okay, so that is pretty much most everything started off pretty solidly. If you need bricks early on, see here I opened up a space that had a little forest in it. But if you need bricks early on or materials early on, a lot of this stuff like these space chunks, you can get metal and components and things from them. You can find an area like up here where there's ruins. You can get bricks by disassembling those. So there are places to kind of get those early on. Since we don't really have much to do, well, let's start food stockpiling since we have a fridge and we are running low on the meats. So first things first, make sure you don't have your priorities. Okay. I recommend starting off, try to avoid things that are hostile. Wargs, pigs, pretty much anything that has a chance to attack you. Like for example, if you target that, it will tell you what your chance of getting attacked by that animal is. So pigs have a 2%. Well, wargs on the other hand, I think it's like 25%, 35%. So yeah, you want to pick and choose your animals. That wolf would be nice to tame. I just don't think I have anybody who could do it. Nope. Okay. Oh, I always kind of look around the world too. You can find animals that were just killed by wildlife, and if you act fast enough, you can actually grab them for yourself. Okay, we might have to prioritize some things here because they apparently ran out of wood. So, alright, I'm gonna set somebody to go grab. Oh, another thing you need to remember to do too, which I often forget, is that the storage defaults don't actually have corpses set for the normal storage. So you'll want to go in there, toggle on animal corpses, and then toggle off allow rotten. And that will allow you, you'll notice it wouldn't let me do it when I went before, but now it'll let me prioritize hauling this thing. And then that's how you move animals into your storage to keep them cold so they don't rot until you are able to butcher them and cook them. And then what we're doing, manual priorities, where are you at, Edgy? You need to cut down wood, actually. Alright, so they're a little too overly gung-ho on mining right now, so let's do some manual priorities. We'll have you two do the cutting, and we'll set hunt to a higher priority, and cook to a higher priority. You can do multiple. They will go down in this. So from left to right is how they'll prioritize things. So I always set firefight and doctoring to 1, since those are 2 very high priority, but they don't occur unless an event happens. So for example, if there's no fire, they're not just going to sit around and do nothing because firefighting is a priority. They'll continue down with the next thing in line. You know, if no one's sick or wounded, they will just move to, you know, warden, etc., etc. Warden is actually how you you capture, or you convince people to join your team after you capture them. So that's going to be one of our priorities too, is we're going to need to get a jail going. We'll use the hallway we're building here as our temporary jail structure, because we should be seeing a raid anytime here. Alright, so... Oh, excellent. So, every now and then, one of the events will be that you get a free animal. But then you can also get hit with shitty events, like the flu, which can actually... So we're going to have to turn off our manual priorities, because they will keep working through sickness. So now I'm going to have to make sure everybody who's got the flu goes and rests, so that the doctors, who, please tell me he's a doctor. Okay, excellent. Alright, first things first, let's have you grab that. We will need that later. Alright, so now he's, as you see, we put doctor on high priority, so the first thing he's going to do is focus on tending to them. He's a good doctor with good medicine, so he's going to have high quality. This is color-coded, so basically the darker brown it is, the worse the treatment. The more white it is, the better the treatment, which means that you have a higher chance of building up an immunity before the disease. Basically, if the disease hits 100% before the immunity, your character dies. So having a good doctor with good medicine is crucial, because you will just lose people. And nothing sets you back worse in this game than people dying. So, unfortunately, yeah, we are down 2 guys now, because we are going to basically have to wait until they hit 100% immunity before they can stop bed rest. So, that is going to be a little bit of a problem for us for a little bit. Hopefully, the raid doesn't hit right now, because it's going to be really annoying to try to deal with only one person, and bringing the other 2 out of bed rest and then having them get wounded will mean that they will go back down into bed rest for likely twice as long. So yeah, you want to build extra animal sleeping spots as you get new animals. I believe boars can carry stuff too. They used to be able to. Apparently they fixed that, so that will probably just be what I do a lot of times with these free animals, is I will hold on to them until wintertime. In case I hit a point where I am desperate for food, I will harvest the animals. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and cut this, call this part 1, and pick up the rest in part 2.